my sweater. Have a seat. What are you so excited about today?
I found the first dandelion of the season.
Oh no. You know what dandelions do? They just propagate. They send seeds out everywhere. We're going to have dandelions all over the place. They are pretty though, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Well, in fact, it's a good thing that you came in because I'd like for you to plant some seeds and maybe put some, well, actually planting seeds fits a theme that I was looking at for today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, one of the lessons that I was looking at, here, I'll give a copy to you.
Thank you.
One of the lessons that I was looking at is 1 Peter. It's a little book at the end of the Bible, and maybe it speaks to us today. It starts off because Peter is writing to a group of people that are like dandelions. There's seeds scattered all over, and they feel like they are in exile, like somehow they're in captivity or quarantined in some way, those
Yes.
seeds. He writes to God's elect, strangers in the world, scattered throughout the place. But then he goes on and he talks about how we are able to be connected with Jesus, who was exiled for us, and that somehow this allows us to grow like flowers wherever God sees us planted. You could read a little bit of the passage there. I think you could start at verse 3.
Okay. Praise be to God the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Okay, new birth is kind of like a flower. Yeah, a flower just blooming all of a sudden. And we've been given this option of coming to flower, but we know what has to happen for a seed to actually come to flower.
We have to be buried.
We have to be buried first. Okay, let's look at another portion of that lesson, and I think you'll see that same thing.
In all this you greatly rejoice, though now, for a little while, you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which pressures even though refined by fire, may result in praise.
Okay.
Glory, and honor.
Yeah, that's another way of saying that you rejoice right now, even though you're still going to have to go through that burial as a seed. You're still going to have to go through that trial of trying to find a way of reaching up towards life, even though you are exiled into the ground, and even though we are quarantined and at safe distances from one another, that somehow this may allow something new to come to blossom. That isn't easy for us to accept at different times. Yeah, but here's Peter writing centuries back and saying the same thing to Christians who felt as though they were somehow separated. There's another portion of that lesson that I think this.
Though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him, and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. For you are receiving the end result of your faith, the salvation of your souls.
Though you haven't seen him, okay, though we haven't seen all that God can do, although we haven't seen ourselves exactly who Jesus is, we believe that God is somehow doing something with us and through us in some way, that we're going to be able to flower and blossom. That takes a long patience process, doesn't it, Kate?
Yes, it does.
Just kind of like planting those flowers. So I think I'm going to send you off to plant the flowers.
Thank you.
But then may we rejoice as we're being planted too, even though we may have to suffer for a little bit. May we understand that God is still doing something through us, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, in the meantime, I think I'm going to check with Micah because I think we need to learn how, even though we are distant physically, how we can still remain in contact with each other. And I need a little bit of help learning how to use Google Meet and Google Hangouts Meet and Zoom and all these confusing things. But I do know that if people call into the church, we're going to try to help them
Yes.
on using some of these ways of keeping connected. But in the meantime,